I love testing out different vintage fibercraft toys, and today I thought we would test out another vintage toy knitting machine, and this is actually produced by Singer, who in the past has made full-size knitting machines as well. So I have high hopes that this one will work and that we can maybe make a wearable sweater out of this toy. The box has been in better shape in its life. I've got my fingers crossed that it's still in working enough condition. All right, so why don't we unpack this box and see what is even a part of it. This looks like a yarn tensioning unit. We've got the customer helpline. I wonder if that still works. This looks like the carriage. It looks quite robust for a toy carriage, to be honest. And here we've got the bed for the machine. It actually goes this way, I would say. Any instructions? And nope. No help for instructions, just the helpline. The telephone number looks like it's in the UK. Should I try calling and see how long ago this might have been disconnected? I mean, it's the afternoon here, so it's gonna be nighttime in the UK. I think it'd be funny to try to call, so let me grab my phone. Okay, so this is an international phone call. I know how to dial out to Germany because I have family in Germany, but I don't know how to dial to the UK. Okay, +44 without the leading 0. Okay, let's see if this goes anywhere. Oh. Immediately hung up. Did I do it right? Oh, it hangs up. What if I include the leading 0? It sounds like it's disconnected, unfortunately. So I guess in the meantime, because I wanted to get to this project today, we are going to do our best to work with what we have and set it up and get going. So let me check all the needles first. Okay, so this first one is snapped off, so we can't use that one. How did all the other ones look? Oh, that one's broken, so we probably shouldn't use that one. And we've got 2 more that are missing their latches. Okay, so there's a few needles that are not in like any kind of condition to actually be used. I am going to do my best guess to put this together based on the images on the package. This is the carriage, and on the carriage we put the handle. The question is, in which direction? Do we go this way or do we go this way? Any clues? Oh. Whoops. Snap that into place. Ooh, this button looks like the emergency release of the carriage from the bed. In case anything gets stuck, you can press that and it'll take it out of the rail and you can take it off. So let's see if we can get this on. Okay, that slides left and right. Let's see if the needles will actually move if I put them into working position. There's all the way out. Does that put them into working position? Ooh, they're moving. Okay. This carriage actually comes with, this is advanced. I'm impressed. So there's these levers on the side of the carriage, and it looks like if they're in the back position, if the needles are pushed all the way to the front, it's called the out of work position, and the carriage will not work them. But if I put these little pointers to the front, the carriage will work them. That's actually really quite advanced. It means you can do like, I wish I had the project book to see what projects they recommend, because that's a way that you can like shape necklines and darts and things like that in your knitting machines. I'm gonna compare this to my newest knitting machine, which is so advanced, it's so cool. I can't wait. That's another one that I cannot wait to share with you. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen some sneak peeks about it. But anyway, I actually think, I feel like I always jinx myself when I say this, but I feel like we can potentially get like a sweater done. I wonder if I can take this like placket off and then exchange some of the needles. So it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4 broken needles, and if I move those to the outside, maybe I try knitting first before I start taking this apart. And we'll see how well that works. Before I find out whether this toy knitting machine can actually make a sweater or whether I've just bought myself a very complicated hunk of plastic, I want to thank Saley for sponsoring this video. Whenever I travel, and I'm hoping to be able to soon, I somehow still end up researching obscure textile things, looking for yarn shops, or trying to navigate to a museum, so having reliable data is very useful. Saley is an eSIM app with prepaid data plans in more than 200 destinations. You download the app, choose your destination, payment plan and follow the instructions to install the eSIM before you leave. You only have to install it once, and it activates automatically when you arrive, so you can connect to the local network without surprise roaming charges. Saley also offers an optional app-based US phone number for calls and texts. You can give that number to shops, apps, or delivery services instead of handing out your personal phone number everywhere. You can get an exclusive 15% discount on Saley eSIM data plans by downloading the Saley app and using my code at checkout. Thank you so much to Saley for sponsoring today's video and making videos like this even possible. And now let's get back to my toy knitting machine and seeing if it can make a sweater. All right, I am back with some yarn. So I'm gonna cast on in what I call an E-wrap, or what is generally called an E-wrap cast on. So you kind of start, be cool to know what the instructions would recommend. I'm gonna try this. Take out the slack. Okay, the needles are knitting, or they're moving. It knit nothing. Not a very strong start. Some of the stitches knit that time. I'm gonna hang some weight and see if that'll help us form the stitches a little bit better. And let's knit back again. It does make a working piece of fabric so far. There's a bit of fabric. It's definitely a bit loose. This is, I feel, made for a lot thicker, chunkier yarn. So let me see if I can find some thicker, chunkier yarn. But also, since the needles are knitting as they should, I'm going to see if I can find a screwdriver, and I'm gonna move the broken needles to, well, basically just off the machine. Let's see if the screwdriver will fit. I wish they wouldn't hide screws under stickers. Oh my gosh, this is the sponge bar. So now I'm going to remove the broken ones. Put the sponge bar back on. I'm gonna put all the screws back in. We're gonna do a gauge swatch with a bulky yarn. What we made is definitely knit fabric, but it is very loose knit fabric for it to be some sort of a top of some kind, so I'd rather have something a little bit thicker to wear. Okay, I think this yarn is maybe a little too thick. It's kind of jumping off the needles. I feel like I've got to sit and brainstorm for a second on what I could do best with this, because ideally it would be a yarn that's in between the thickness of this one and the one before, but I don't have that. And you might be saying, just, hey, why don't you hold two yarns together? It'll be thicker. But I don't think that this machine, I mean, I could try it, but I don't think that this machine will handle two yarns at a time very nicely. I don't know, I'm gonna sit, I'm gonna think on it, and we're gonna see what we're gonna do next. I did manage to find, so the first yarn I tried was fingering weight, then the second yarn I tried was Aran weight. This is DK weight, which is a bit better. It's somewhere in between. The knitting machine has some hiccups, so I think it's gonna be a moody machine. I'm gonna take the gauge of this and maybe sketch out some ideas of what we can make from this particular fabric. It's actually been a little bit, because it's taken me a while to decide exactly what I'm going to make with my knitting machine. I promise I'm not gonna hammer it apart. This is just for one of the looms back there. I finally have an idea, and I'm basically going to knit some big rectangles to hopefully turn it into a hat. Since there's only 28 stitches that work properly on this machine, I'm going to have to do 2 squares in order to make the hat that would fit me, hopefully. So we're hoping that we can get a winner twice in a row with a cast on. So I should probably also have rewound the yarn into cones, but again, we're just gonna vibe with this and see what happens. It did not feel like it at all. Try number 2. Let's see if anything works here. Nope, still nothing worked. Miraculous! 3rd time's the charm this time. We got a cast on. So now I'm just gonna hang maybe some weights to help these outside stitches, I hope. And now back, whoops. Wish this machine had clamps, honestly. Oh, it's a little sticky. What are we sticking on? I don't want to break any of this. I feel like I actually have a chance of breaking this plastic accidentally. These are the weights from my actual knitting machine. So let's see if those will help. And the last one. Okay, yeah, like all of the stitches without any weights did not. Oh my goodness. Okay, now the machine is going to fall off the table with the amount of weight that's on it. I've got a lot of problems with this. This is not easy. Gonna break this off and we're gonna move on to our actual working yarn because I think we've got a good foundation now. Okay, so this is gonna be my first try at knitting in the working yarn to a, what would you call it, waste yarn start. So let's see if this even has a chance of, oh, I didn't fully, there we go. Did everything knit? Everything knit. I'm impressed. Okay, I'm just gonna tie this to a slip knot. Where's my pattern? I wrote down my pattern. We cast on, and now we knit for 28 rows. I do not have a counter, so I'm gonna have to keep counting in my head so we don't lose track. So that should be the brim, which then gets folded up. So now what I want to do is I want to match every loose stitch here with a stitch on here. Here we go. I have to say the hardest part about that was actually the counting. I did lose count at least once. So I'm hoping that we're at the 28 rows that I meant to be. So. Okay, so that's going to be the hat brim. So rehang all of the weights. I hope everything knits like it should. I hope I'm not jinxing everything right now. Okay, that knit well. So now we have 33 rows to knit here. We just did one, so 32 left. So again, I got to focus and count. So I will see you at the end of this. 33 rows, hopefully, very soon. Okay, see you then. Okay, I think I just finished the last row of the first panel. So now this should be safe to come off. Easiest way to do it is just hold it and move the carriage across. And now we have the first bit of our beanie. So this is gonna be the first half of my new hat. So basically everything I did, I'm gonna do it one more time. And we can see we've got the little fold over brim. I think it actually looks really cute and I like this color a lot. I'm gonna do all of this one more time. We'll see you when the second panel's done. We'll talk about like sewing it up and finishing it up and what I think about this toy knitting machine versus the other toy knitting machines I've tried. So I sat down and finished up the hat. I didn't capture much of that, I'm sorry, but I sewed the two panels together. So I do have two seams down the side of this hat and I scrunched up the top stitches, just kind of running the tail through it and pulling it tight. And what do you think? Is this a serviceable hat? Like one that I could actually wear? I feel like it is. I would actually be quite happy wearing this hat out and about. So I think that was a successful toy knitting machine. I will admit I don't like this one quite as much as the last one. The last one also gave me issues, but I was able to get to a lot more panels before serious annoyances popped up. But I still liked this knitting machine quite a bit because I think that it would be a great introduction to knitting machines. There's some parts of it that are annoying. So if I didn't have experience with knitting machines, I probably would have given up on this toy. But because I do have experience with like full-size knitting machines, I didn't give up because I knew how to fix it a little bit better. I knew how to work around it a little bit better. If this is what I started with, I don't think I would have even been tempted to try. The thing is too, because these aren't made anymore, I I had to buy mine secondhand. You generally have to buy them secondhand. I have my eye on a few toys, and so I tend to get them at the lower prices, but it wouldn't be that much more expensive, honestly, just to buy a vintage full-size knitting machine versus a toy. So if you were interested, unless you can find one of these for, I don't know, maybe 20 bucks, I don't know that I would recommend actually using it to learn knitting machines, because it could make you more frustrated and then not want to learn a knitting machine. Sometimes if you are interested in knitting machines, right, I just want to put that out there, there are knitting machine guilds in some areas that I've seen where you can show up and just see how they work, try one out from people who are experienced and knowledgeable in them, and see if that's something that you want to invest in. Sometimes when you look at your local listings, you can get really lucky with an inexpensive one that you can then fiddle around on. Just, you probably have to go in knowing that it'll need some work, so you'll have to do some research on how to potentially like replace a sponge bar and oil some things and dust some things. So it's all trade-offs, right? But if you are technically, like if you like to tinker, you like to knit, and you want to give your hands a break from knitting, knitting machines are really fun, but they are a completely different skill set from regular knitting. I actually have a really exciting full-size knitting machine video in works right now. I managed to find a 1980s motorized knitting machine that is going to absolutely change the way that I can knit, and I'm so excited because I actually have been doing a lot of hand knitting and hand crocheting, and I've just been, like the pain is definitely there. I have to do a lot of pain management, and if that's something that's interesting to you, please feel free to subscribe. If you want to hear more about stuff like this, I do tend to post wrap-up videos on my Patreon if you want to check that out. Thank you so much for spending some of your limited time with me today, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Bye, until next time.